It started on a cold October afternoon. I was 17, sitting in my room working on a college application essay when I heard shouting from downstairs. The kind of shouting that makes your stomach drop and your heart race before your brain. Even has time to register what's wrong. My sister, Ava 15 at the time, was crying in the kitchen. When I came down, I saw her surrounded by my mom and two police officers. My dad stood frozen nearby, his face pale and confused. No one said anything to me, and then I heard Ava's voice through the chaos. Dad touched me. Time slowed. I felt like I was in a tunnel. My ears rang, my body went numb. My father? The man who used to rock us to sleep when we had nightmares? The one who stayed up late helping us with school projects and always showed up for parent-teacher conferences? The one who never raised his voice unless he was cheering at one of our games? I couldn't process it. And yet, within an hour, he was being led out of the house in handcuffs. No chance to defend himself, no explanation. Ava was taken away. By CPS, my mom collapsed into sobs, her face buried in her hands. And I just stood there, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to breathe. The questions started piling up faster than I could think. What just happened? Was Ava okay? Was Dad really capable of that? Why didn't anyone say anything to me? Did they already know something I didn't? Everything after that felt like a blur. There were phone calls, interviews, court dates. The court system didn't seem to need proof. They had Ava's word, and that was enough. My father kept repeating the same thing. I didn't do this. Please believe me. But even I didn't know what to believe. What if he was lying? What if I defended him and Ava was telling the truth? What if I was wrong? At school, everything changed. People stopped looking me in the eye. Friends I'd known for years avoided me. Teachers grew distant. I felt the stares in the hallways, the whispers behind lockers. My last name had become poison. Back home, my mom barely functioned. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping. I could hear her crying through the walls at night. We didn't talk much. The silence between us stretched. Like a canyon. One night, I found an old family photo on the fridge. It was taken 2 summers ago. All 4 of us smiling on a beach vacation. Sand on our feet, wind in our hair, my dad's arm around Ava's shoulder. I stared at that photo for what felt like hours. Could that man really be a monster? Or had something else happened? The shame was suffocating. Our house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a waiting room for bad news. I'd lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together anything I might have missed. A glance, a strange word, a feeling. But there was nothing. No warning signs. No red flags. I didn't know who to be angry at. My dad? My sister? Myself? Was I supposed to choose sides? Was it betrayal to question Ava? Or betrayal to doubt my father? I wanted to scream to make it all stop, to rewind time. But the silence in our home was louder than any noise, even the ticking of the kitchen clock seemed to mock us. I watched the news coverage, saw neighbors whispering behind closed blinds. Headlines appeared with words like "father arrested" and "allegations rock local family." No one knew the full story, but everyone had already made up their minds. My once bright future dimmed to a haze of uncertainty. I stopped working on college essays, stopped replying to emails. I didn't care anymore. I couldn't think beyond the moment, beyond the pain. In that one afternoon, my world split apart. And no matter how hard I tried to make sense of it, the only thing I knew for certain was this: something had broken. Something deep and irreplaceable. And I didn't know if we'd ever be whole again. In the weeks after my dad was arrested, our house turned into a graveyard of silence and shame. My mom stopped cooking. She barely spoke. She wandered around the house like a ghost. I'd hear her pacing the hallway late at night, sometimes stopping outside Ava's room, sometimes just standing by the kitchen window, staring out into the dark like she was waiting for someone to come fix everything. Every corner of our home echoed with memories that felt too painful to touch. I avoided the living room entirely because that's where he used to sit and read. I stopped going near his study. The door stayed closed like a tomb. Even the smell of his cologne on an old coat made my chest tighten. I went numb. I stopped. Talking to friends, skipped school, avoided eye contact with anyone who looked like they knew. I wasn't the accused one, but it didn't matter. Everyone looked at me like I was contaminated by guilt by association. It was enough to damn me too. Ava was sent to live with a distant cousin. CPS made sure we had no contact. Still, rumors swirled. Some people believed her. Others whispered maybe she was lying. But nobody really knew and nobody talked to me. The isolation was unbearable. I lost my spot on the debate team, lost my shot at multiple scholarships. Colleges that had once pursued me suddenly stopped returning calls. Teachers who had praised me grew distant. Even the principal avoided me. I became the girl with the ruined family. The girl with the molester dad and the broken home. What hurt the most wasn't just the loss of opportunities. It was the loss of identity. I used to be someone. I had plans, goals. I was going to be a lawyer, make a difference. But now I was stuck in limbo, defined not by my actions, but by someone else's words. The thing that hurt most was the not knowing. I replayed everything in my head, every holiday, every fight, every bedtime story looking for a sign. Something that told me if he could do something like this, but I found nothing. Only more questions. I started journaling mostly to stay sane. The panic attacks came in waves. I'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, unsure of where I was. I became terrified of silence, afraid of being alone with my thoughts. The nights were the worst, lying awake, heart pounding, eyes locked on the ceiling as my brain screamed for answers I didn't have. I began to question everything: my memory, my judgment, my family. I missed my sister. I missed my dad, but I didn't know who to trust anymore. And I certainly didn't trust myself. We didn't visit my dad in prison. My mom couldn't bring herself to. She stopped saying his name. We lived in a house full of absence. His shoes were still by the door. His coffee mug still sat in the cupboard. But we pretended he had never existed. I told myself it was better that way. Less confusing, less painful. But in truth, it felt like we were just waiting to disappear. Like our lives had been paused in the worst possible moment. A never-ending purgatory. I started writing anonymous posts online just to get the words out. I needed someone to hear me, even if they didn't know who I was. I wrote about guilt, about silence, about loss. I wrote about Ava and about Dad, about how my world was crumbling and no one seemed to care. It helped a little. But not enough. And always behind every word was the fear that I had chosen the wrong person to believe. 2 years went by. Ava never came back. My dad's appeals were denied. My mom went back to work, and we operated like quiet roommates. We never spoke of the case again. It was like my dad had died, and we buried the memory along with him. But the silence only made my doubts louder. One ordinary Saturday afternoon, I decided to clean out the garage. It had become cluttered with boxes and dust, a dumping ground for everything we no longer had the emotional energy to deal with. As I was going through a bin labeled school stuff, I came across one of Ava's old notebooks. I almost tossed it into the donation pile, but something made me open it. I expected to find homework or sketches. Instead, I found diary entries. Pages filled with angry words about being grounded, about how much she hated Dad for taking. Her phone, entry after entry read like complaints of a normal teenager. But then I saw the line that changed everything. Scribbled in all caps across the middle of a page. I swear I could make him pay for this. I froze. My eyes went back to that sentence again and again. My hands trembled. My heart pounded. The handwriting was unmistakably hers. The ink was slightly smudged, like she'd pressed the pen hard against the paper. That one line rang in my head like a siren. Could she have made it up? Could she really have told such a lie, one that cost a man his freedom, shattered a family, and ruined all our lives over something as trivial as a phone or a missed party? I began retracing memories. I thought about how she would manipulate situations growing up, throw tantrums when she didn't get her way, cry when she wanted attention. It had always seemed harmless. Normal, even, but now, with this new context? I couldn't ignore the possibility. I dug deeper, searched through old emails, messages, anything I could find. There was nothing alarming, no signs of abuse, no hidden messages. Just ordinary exchanges, reminders about curfews, encouragement about schoolwork, jokes about TV shows. It all painted a picture of a strict but caring father. Still, I knew my feelings weren't enough. I needed help processing it. That's when I started therapy. In one of our early sessions, I finally let the question slip. What if it wasn't true? What if she lied? My voice shook. I expected judgment. Instead, my therapist nodded and said, "It's okay to ask that." Those words cracked something open in me. I began writing again this time, not just to vent, but to investigate. I kept a journal of my findings, my theories, my memories. Every thread I pulled made me more certain that something wasn't right. That maybe, just maybe, my father had been telling the truth all along. I reached out to Ava's old best friend, someone she hadn't spoken to since that year. We met at a cafe. I asked gently if Ava had ever mentioned anything about our dad. The girl hesitated, then said, "Honestly, the only thing I remember is her being furious about missing that Halloween party. She said she'd get back at him." I thought she was just being dramatic. That confirmed the evidence wasn't hard, legal proof. But it was enough to spark a fire inside me. Enough to demand the truth. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I was terrified of what I might uncover. But I was even more terrified of continuing to live with a lie. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, the kind where everything feels still, like the world is holding its breath. My mom was folding laundry in the living room, and I was rereading old journal entries, trying to make sense of a reality that never seemed to settle. That's when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. We weren't the kind of house that got visitors anymore. When I opened the door, I froze. It was Ava. She stood there in jeans and a faded hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. Her eyes looked older, tired, but they held a strange kind of softness I hadn't seen in years. My mom stepped forward behind me, gasping like she'd seen a ghost. "Ava?" she whispered. Ava's eyes filled with tears. "I need to talk to him," she said. Nodding toward me. We sat on the back porch, the same one where our dad used to drink coffee every morning and read the paper. The wind was chilly, and I kept my arms crossed. Ava didn't look at me at first. Her hands were shaking. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The silence spoke for both of us. Then she said the words that I never expected to hear. "Not in 100 years. I made it up. At first, I thought I misheard her. The words felt like they dropped from some alternate universe. My ears rang. I stared at her, my jaw tightening. I lied," she continued. "I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just wanted to get back at Dad. I was so mad. About the party, about my phone. I told the school counselor something terrible. I thought it would just scare him, make him apologize or something, but then it spiraled." She cried, and I just sat there frozen. "He didn't do anything," she said through sobs. "He never touched me. He didn't deserve what happened." Everything I had bottled up inside, the anger, the grief, the confusion came bubbling up, but I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at her. Sorry I didn't bring our dad back. Sorry I didn't undo 4 years of isolation. Prison, broken dreams. Still, we had to do something. I told my mom. Together, we went to the police. Ava gave a full statement. There were meetings with lawyers, more hearings, and finally, months later, my father's conviction was overturned. He was released. He came home, but home wasn't the same. He wasn't the same. The man who used to laugh loudly, hug tightly, and light up every room now sat silently at the dinner table, eyes often staring into nothing. The weight of those years had carved something deep into him. There were moments he'd flinch at loud noises or disappear into long silences. We tried family therapy, we tried one-on-one talks, but there was a gap between us that no words could cross. I watched him and wondered if he'd ever truly come back. As for Ava, she tried to make amends. She apologized again and again, cooked. Dinner left letters, but trust isn't a switch you flip. It's a tree that takes years to grow and a moment to burn out my mom, and I tried to be the bridge. But some wounds are too deep to close. My dad never raised his voice to her. He never called her names. But he never fully looked her in the eye, either. We were a family reunited, but also fractured. Glued back together with truths that came too late, and though the world had moved on and the news didn't care anymore, we were left in the quiet aftermath, picking up pieces, hoping somehow to be whole again. My dad is free now, but freedom doesn't mean healing. He walks with the weight of 4 lost years, each step echoing memories. He never deserved to carry most mornings. I find him in the backyard tracing the same path near the garden. Beds, he doesn't garden anymore. He just walks around and around in silence, like he's trying to outrun something that's still chasing him. We try to talk, we try to share meals, but it's like the part of him that believed in goodness never made it out of that prison cell. He flinches when someone touches him unexpectedly. Loud noises make him shut down. Sometimes I catch him staring at nothing, his face unreadable. I've seen trauma before in books and movies. But seeing it live in someone you love is something else. It lives in his eyes, his silences, the hollow way he now says, "I'm okay." My mom exists in a fog of guilt. She pretends to be stronger than she is. Every night I hear her talking softly in her room to a framed photo of my dad from before the arrest. Sometimes I hear her crying. She thinks I don't know, but I do. I always do. She still sets the dinner table for 3. She doesn't even realize that habits like that formed in years of longing don't go away overnight. Deva disappeared again. After my dad came home, she stuck around for a few weeks. She tried to make things right, cooked meals clean, left notes on the fridge with hearts drawn. Next to sorry. But she didn't stay one day, she was just gone. No goodbye, no explanation, just a hole where she tried to mend what she destroyed. Sometimes I wonder if she ran because she couldn't take the weight of what she did or because she never planned to carry it at all. A part of me wants to forgive her. The bigger part of me doesn't. She lit the match that burned down our family, then walked away from the ashes. As for me, I'm stuck between then and now. I still dream about that day. The shouting, the flashing lights, my father's confused face as he was taken away, Ava's trembling voice, my mom's collapse. It replays in my mind like a cruel film stuck on a loop I try to move. Forward, I have a job now, I go to therapy. I even laugh sometimes, but underneath it all is a quiet ache for the life I might have had, the college I didn't attend, the friends I lost, the trust that was shattered we don't talk about. It much not because we're healed, but because we're exhausted. Talking means remembering means hurting, but I'm telling this story now not because I want sympathy, not because I'm angry, but because someone somewhere might be on the edge of saying something that will change everything. Words have power. They can destroy, they can imprison, they can silence, and once spoken, they can't always be taken back. So please, if you're hurting, speak. But speak truth, and if someone speaks to you, listen, ask questions, don't assume, don't rush to label. Truth is slow, but it's the only thing that can save you. My sister lied, and I'll never get my old life back, but maybe someone else still can. If this story moved you, please take a moment to reflect, and then like this video to support real stories being heard. Subscribe to the channel if you believe the truth deserves a voice, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might be what someone else needs to hear today.